Let me delve into the details of this unsettling encounter that has haunted me for years, beginning with the backdrop of my father's passing in 2021. Our family owned a serene property nestled in a quaint West Virginian town, a place where my father found solace in the tranquil surroundings of nature. Following his wishes, we laid him to rest there, his ashes scattered amidst the whispering trees and gentle streams that meandered through the landscape. Despite the grief that shrouded our family, I found solace in returning to our property, drawn by memories of shared adventures with my father, deer hunting expeditions in the crisp morning air, lazy afternoons spent fishing by the tranquil waters, and exhilarating rides through the rugged terrain. Each visit was a pilgrimage of sorts, a chance to reconnect with his spirit and find peace amidst the whispering winds and rustling leaves. However, it was during one such visit that the tranquility of our idyllic retreat was shattered by an inexplicable sense of dread. As I stood before the makeshift shrine we had created for my father, a feeling of unease crept over me, a primal instinct that whispered of unseen dangers lurking in the shadows. That night, as darkness enveloped the landscape and the stars shimmered overhead, I retired to bed with a heavy heart, seeking solace in the comforting embrace of sleep. But sleep eluded me, stolen away by the incessant tapping on the window, like ghostly fingers rapping against the fragile barrier that separated me from the unknown. With a sense of foreboding, I approached the window, my heart hammering in my chest, and peered into the darkness beyond. What I saw chilled me to the bone. A spectral figure, illuminated by the faint moonlight, stood outside, its form obscured by shadows, yet its presence palpable, a silent sentinel watching from the depths of the night. As the hours dragged on, the tapping grew more insistent, a relentless rhythm that echoed through the stillness of the night, a haunting melody that seemed to beckon me into the unknown. With trembling hands, I reached for the door, a sense of dread gnawing at my insides, and flung it open, ready to confront the source of my torment. But what awaited me on the other side defied comprehension. A grotesque visage, twisted and contorted, loomed before me, its eyes ablaze with an otherworldly light, its mouth stretched into a mocking grin that revealed rows of jagged teeth. In that moment, terror consumed me, paralyzing me with fear as I stared into the abyss of its gaze, a darkness that seemed to devour all that dared to cross its path. With a surge of adrenaline, I stumbled backward, slamming the door shut and bolting it with trembling hands, the echoes of my pounding heart drowned out by the deafening silence that enveloped the room. For what felt like an eternity, I huddled in the darkness, my mind consumed by visions of unspeakable horrors lurking just beyond the threshold. As the first light of dawn pierced the veil of darkness, I dared to venture outside, my senses heightened to the slightest whisper of movement, my heart pounding in my chest with each step I took. But to my relief, or perhaps dismay, the creature was nowhere to be found, leaving behind only the lingering echo of its sinister presence. With a sense of profound relief, I hastily gathered my belongings and fled the cursed confines of our once sacred sanctuary, leaving behind the haunting memories that now tainted its tranquil facade. Yet, even as I drove away, a nagging sense of unease gnawed at the corners of my mind, a lingering reminder of the horrors that lurked in the shadows of our idyllic retreat. In the years that followed, I sought to bury the memories of that fateful night, to banish the nightmares that haunted my every waking moment. But try as I might, I could not escape the specter of that monstrous entity, its malevolent presence looming over me like a dark cloud on the horizon. And so, as the years stretched on, I found myself inexorably drawn back to that fateful town, compelled by an insatiable curiosity to unravel the mysteries that lay buried beneath its tranquil surface. But with each passing day, the specter of that monstrous creature loomed larger in my mind, a grim reminder of the horrors that awaited me in the darkness. Now, as I stand on the precipice of yet another journey into the heart of that cursed town, I am filled with a sense of trepidation unlike any I have ever known. For I know that the horrors that await me there are beyond comprehension, lurking in the shadows of my darkest fears, ready to consume me whole at the slightest misstep. But still, I press onward, driven by an unquenchable thirst for answers, a burning desire to confront the demons that haunt me and lay them to rest once and for all. And though I know not what awaits me on the other side, I am resolved to face it head-on, to brave the darkness and emerge victorious against all odds. For I am a survivor, a warrior forged in the crucible of adversity, and I will not rest until I have vanquished the darkness that threatens to consume me whole. And so, with a heart heavy with dread yet filled with determination, I steel myself for the trials that lie ahead, knowing that whatever horrors may await me, I will face them with courage and emerge stronger on the other side. I was camping alone in northeast Ohio, nestled amidst the dense foliage and serene beauty of the wilderness. The crackling campfire had dwindled to mere embers as the night deepened, casting elongated shadows that danced eerily around my tent. Somewhere between wakefulness and sleep, a primal instinct stirred within me, urging me to venture out into the moonlit forest. Groggily, I emerged from my cocoon of blankets, the chill of the night air biting at my skin. With each step, the forest seemed to grow denser, the trees towering overhead like ancient sentinels guarding secrets untold. Suddenly, a flicker of light caught my eye, a lone headlamp illuminating the darkness in the distance. Curiosity piqued, I ventured closer, my heart pounding with a mixture of fear and intrigue. Through the tangled underbrush, I could make out the silhouette of a figure, their movements erratic and unsettling. For what felt like an eternity, I watched from the shadows as they paced back and forth, a silent sentinel in the night. Driven by a sense of unease, I donned my boots and gripped my trusty hatchet, determined to unravel the mystery that lay before me. With each cautious step, the forest seemed to close in around me, the silence broken only by the rustle of leaves beneath my feet. As I drew nearer to the mysterious figure, another light pierced the darkness, casting eerie shadows that danced across the forest floor. My pulse quickened as I realized I was not alone. Another presence lurked in the shadows, their intentions unknown. With bated breath, I hunkered down among the foliage, my senses on high alert as I observed the unfolding tableau before me. The figures moved with purpose, their movements synchronized in a macabre dance of shadows and light. Suddenly, a cacophony of noise shattered the stillness of the night, the sound of my belongings being ransacked echoing through the forest. Panic surged through me as I realized the intruders were closing in on my campsite, their intentions nefarious and unknown. With adrenaline coursing through my veins, I sprang into action, determined to confront the interlopers and defend my sanctuary against all odds. Through the dense underbrush, I charged, my hatchet raised high as I prepared to face whatever horrors awaited me. But as I burst into the clearing, my courage faltered, for what lay before me defied all comprehension. My campsite lay in ruins, my belongings strewn haphazardly across the forest floor like the remnants of some forgotten nightmare. In the cold light of dawn, I surveyed the wreckage, a sense of dread gnawing at the pit of my stomach. My hammock lay shredded, the fabric torn asunder by some unseen force. My belongings had been plundered, the remnants of my once tranquil retreat now a grim reminder of the horrors that lurked within the shadows. As I sifted through the wreckage, a chilling realization washed over me. I was not alone in these woods, and whatever malevolent force had laid waste to my campsite still lurked in the darkness, waiting to strike again. With a heavy heart and trembling hands, I gathered what few belongings remained and fled into the safety of the dawn, vowing never to return to those haunted woods again. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting hues of orange and pink across the sky, my partner and I embarked on our annual pilgrimage to our secluded camping spot nestled deep within the northeastern mountains. It was a tradition we held dear, a cherished escape from the hustle and bustle of everyday life, where we could immerse ourselves in nature's embrace and revel in the simple joys of outdoor living. Our chosen campsite was a well-kept secret, known only to a select few adventurous souls who sought solace in the rugged beauty of the wilderness. Tucked away from the beaten path, it offered the perfect blend of seclusion and serenity, a sanctuary untouched by the trappings of modernity. As we wound our way along the winding mountain roads, our excitement palpable, we couldn't help but marvel at the untouched beauty that surrounded us. Towering pines loomed overhead, their branches swaying gently in the breeze, while the distant call of a lone owl echoed through the stillness of the night. Arriving at our destination, we set about pitching our tent and assembling our campsite, our movements practiced and efficient from years of experience. With each stake hammered into the soft earth and each piece of gear meticulously arranged, we felt a sense of accomplishment wash over us, a feeling of belonging in this untamed wilderness. With our campsite established, we settled in for the evening, the crackling of the campfire providing a comforting backdrop to our shared laughter and conversation. As we roasted marshmallows and traded stories beneath the star-studded sky, we felt a profound sense of gratitude for the simple pleasures life had to offer. As the night wore on and the fire burned low, we retired to our tent, our weary bodies yearning for rest after a day spent immersed in the beauty of nature. But as we nestled beneath the warmth of our sleeping bags, a sense of unease began to gnaw at the edges of our consciousness, an inexplicable feeling of being watched. It was then that we noticed our companion, a small, elderly dog belonging to my parents, behaving strangely. Usually placid and content, he now seemed restless and agitated, his ears perked and his gaze fixed on something beyond the mesh of the tent. Concerned by his behavior, we ventured outside to investigate, our senses on high alert as we scanned the surrounding darkness for any signs of trouble. Yet, apart from the rustle of leaves in the gentle breeze and the distant hoot of an owl, the night remained eerily silent. Deciding to trust our instincts, we returned to the warmth of the fire, the glow of its embers casting long shadows across the forest floor. But our sense of unease only grew stronger, fueled by the inexplicable behavior of our canine companion and the unsettling stillness of the night. Suddenly, without warning, our dog stiffened, his hackles rising as he emitted a low growl that sent shivers down our spines. His gaze was fixed on the dense thicket of trees that bordered our campsite, his instincts telling him that something was amiss. Alarmed by his reaction, we armed ourselves with the few weapons we had at our disposal, a hunting knife and an axe, and strained our ears for any sounds of movement in the darkness. Yet apart from the soft chirping of crickets and the occasional rustle of underbrush, the night remained eerily quiet. Hours passed in tense silence as we kept vigil by the fire, our senses attuned to the slightest hint of danger. But despite our best efforts, the source of our unease remained elusive, lurking just beyond the reach of our senses. It was then that our dog's behavior took a turn for the worse, his growls growing louder and more insistent as he fixated on a point in the darkness. With each passing moment, the tension in the air grew thicker. Our nerves stretched taut as we braced ourselves for whatever might come. In a desperate bid to ward off whatever unseen threat lurked in the darkness, we flipped on the headlights of our truck, bathing the campsite in a harsh glare of light. Yet, despite our efforts, the shadows remained stubbornly opaque, concealing whatever lurked beyond our line of sight. As the night wore on, our fear gave way to exhaustion, our bodies weary from the relentless strain of keeping watch. With heavy hearts and weary limbs, we retreated to the safety of the truck, seeking refuge from the unknown horrors that lurked in the darkness. Wrapped in the comforting embrace of the truck's interior, we waited in breathless anticipation, our hearts pounding in our chests as we strained our senses for any sign of movement outside. Yet, apart from the soft rustle of leaves in the wind and the distant hooting of an owl, the night remained ominously still. As dawn broke on the horizon, casting its golden rays across the landscape, we emerged from our makeshift sanctuary, our bodies weary but our spirits unbroken. Surveying the campsite, we found no trace of the terror that had gripped us throughout the night. No evidence of the unseen menace that had stalked us in the darkness. With a sense of relief washing over us, we packed up our belongings and prepared to leave, eager to put the events of the night behind us. Yet, as we drove away from the campsite, a lingering sense of unease remained, a silent reminder of the horrors that lurked in the depths of the wilderness. And though we may never know the true nature of the terror that had haunted us that fateful night, one thing remained clear. We would never forget the fear that had gripped us, nor the strength and resilience that had seen us through to the light of dawn.